Getting started with Facebook ads, hit create campaign. There are basically three options here to consider. The main one that most of you are going to want to go with is sales. This will be the easy way to generate quick money if you're selling something, say like a $100 shirt or some sort of e-commerce product. For a lot of you, leads is where you're going to start. This is if you're selling a service or maybe a more expensive product that requires some lead nurturing or speaking to a salesperson. And then as you start to grow your campaign, you're going to have to start adding campaigns that are purely for generating awareness. So we're going to start with sales and hit continue. Next, you have two options. You have the Advantage Plus, which is basically the AI driven option, or the manual sales campaign. This is important if you have a specific audience that you want to target, rather than just letting the AI do a bunch of experiments and trying to find the best option. Now, this is a bit of a tricky trade-off decision because if you go with the Advantage Plus option, you're going to have to invest some money up front so that the AI is able to learn, and that's not going to be profitable. So what I would say is that when you're first starting, you might want to go with the safer route, which is the manual sales campaign. And then later on, you can start experimenting with the AI-driven option. Now, if you're going with a mass consumer product, for example, that can appeal to a lot of people, then it might make sense to start here. But if you have a specific audience, I would start here. Next, you're given some different options here, declaring special categories, for example, which isn't going to apply to most of you. We're going to leave this at auction, the sales campaign objective, and we're going to uncheck use a catalog. Now, there's some other options here. For example, Advantage Campaign Budget. This is if you want the AI to optimize your budget among different ad sets, but in the beginning, I don't want to do this because it's not going to be as useful for getting insights, so I'm going to leave that off, and I'm also not going to bother with A/B testing. So hit next. Next, we have to decide where the conversion location is. For most of you, that's going to be on your website, or sometimes it might be on your app. Set the conversion goal here as maximize the number of conversions. I have the Facebook Pixel, so if you haven't already, you're going to have to install the Facebook Pixel onto your website so that Facebook knows that a sale occurred or some sort of key event occurred. That's going to enable Facebook to allocate your budget to maximize sales on your website because it needs data coming from the website back to Facebook. Now I have to tell Facebook what it is that I want it to optimize for. So I'm going to click this conversion event, and select purchase. Now there's another option here, which is dynamic creative. I don't generally like to start with this because it's not going to be as valuable in getting insights in the beginning. Instead, what I like to do is create separate ads that have very different directions, very different messaging and imagery, and then I know which direction to go. Whereas with this, you're basically entrusting the AI to sort of figure out the appropriate combination of different headlines, images, etc. So I'm going to leave that off for now. We're going to set a daily budget, let's say $20. Now, one of the most important things here is setting the location because Facebook's going to force you to do that. I would say that a common mistake would be only going with certain geographies like the United States. I've had situations where I thought that's where most of the opportunities would lie, but I would end up getting the best sales from places like Malaysia and places I never expected. So what I would do in general, unless you have a very geo-specific product or perhaps certain business-to-business products, is I would just go with all countries. So hit browse here and select all. Now it's going to give you an error, and that error means that you cannot advertise in Russia. So just go down to Europe. And what you're going to do is you're going to uncheck Russia. Now, by default, it's going to try to generate an audience using Advantage Plus or using AI. But in the beginning, I don't recommend doing that. I recommend switch to original audience options and click use original audience. Now you're going to be given more options in terms of targeting. Now, these very important options are going to be grayed out. And the reason is because I'm targeting an audience that is under the age of 21. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this and only target people that are age 21 and above. So now I can do things, for example, like specify the English as a language. So I'm going to select all English types. And one of the most important things to enter in here is here, where we're putting in things like, what are these people's interests? So for me, for example, I like to target people that are in the SaaS industry, software as a service. So I check that off. And now what you can decide is, do you want to broaden the audience by adding other subject matters that your target audience is interested in? Or do you want to narrow it by saying, I don't want to target everyone that's interested in software as a service, but I want to target the subgroup within that is also interested in marketing. So that's where I say define further. So I'm narrowing the targeting in that case, and I'm going to put in here marketing as an interest. Because I have lots of experience with Facebook ads, I know what to put in here. If you don't, you can just click browse and you can see different things like demographics, education, etc., interests, which is generally what I rely on, and also behavior. So for example, their digital behavior, their purchase behavior, their interests in soccer and travel, etc. So notice that as I developed this campaign, I wasn't putting all my faith in the AI, in the Advantage Plus as I was going through. So I specified the interests of people I wanted to target, for example. I didn't put in dynamic creative, but there is one place where I am going to trust the AI, and that is with placements. Now, one of the reasons for this is because I'm running a sales campaign. And when you're running a sales campaign, you can trust Facebook's AI to decide where to place your ads. If you're running an awareness campaign, I would not trust the AI at all to do that. But because it is able to optimize for sales, you don't really care where it achieves that. Now we're going to hit next. So now we have to specify what Facebook page is going to advertise. So I'm going to select this one, and also which Instagram account. Instagram is very important. Sometimes that's where your best results are going to come from. So do not disregard that whatsoever. And we're going to go with manual upload here. And we're going to say single image or video. We're going to rely on video primarily to generate our sales. We're going to check this off because, again, all the different placements are going to be fine because we're running a sales campaign. We're going to add the media, which is going to be a video. So I'm going to go with one of my most successful videos here. And notice the style of the video. We have text at the top. There's going to be subtitles at the bottom here because Facebook is a muted experience. People are far more likely to read than to listen, especially if they're, for example, watching your video on the subway. And one of the most important aspects to succeed with your advertisement, with your video advertisement, is the text, the positioning, the messaging that you put above the video. So you see this, in my case, doesn't actually change as the video plays. The subtitles change, the video moves, but the title at the top, the key message, the key benefit does not change. So hit next. And one of the optimal sizes to use would be square. So a video that is 1080 by 1080 pixels. Hit done. So what Facebook has here as primary text is where you're going to type in what is essentially the body text of your advertisement. So you could say like benefit 1, benefit 2, benefit 3, maybe testimonial, case study. Facebook's very generous. It gives you tons of text to work with to prove your point, to prove that you're a product worth buying. And I would recommend putting in tons of information here because when somebody is about to buy a product, which is what we're trying to do with the sales campaign, they are often hungry for a lot of information. That's not necessarily true when you're just generating awareness. They don't really have the attention span to read through everything that you're writing, but here they do. And then we would put in a headline. So we might say proof point 1. We could also test different headlines. For example, we could put in credential, we could put in different positioning, etc. Now we have to decide on the call to action. So I generally just go with learn more. You might be a bit surprised by that, but I want as many people as possible clicking through so I don't make it a very difficult thing or a thing that seems like it requires a lot of investment, like buy now. And we have to put in the URL. So I'm going to put my website URL in here, or the product specific landing page where they're able to buy the product. In this case, I don't have a phone number, so I'm not going to put that. And you can see on the right here a demonstration of what the ad is going to look like. So here, this is the Facebook feed. You can see different versions of the ad. Here's what it's going to look like on Instagram. We also have advanced preview options here. You could make it show up in your browser when you're actually on Facebook to get an even more detailed look of how it looks in context. And I would say that just in general, you're going to be pretty successful if you just go with a video that's 1080 by 1080. And then hit publish. Facebook's going to review the ad to make sure that it's not breaking any policies, and then you should be up and running. So I just want to show you the results that I got from running that advertisement. We can see that my most successful one so far is where I specify the interests that I was targeting, what the people's interests were, but I didn't specify any specific country. So I went completely global. So far, I generated 5 sales at a price of only $6.90, which is pretty good considering the sale price here was $29. So that's almost pure profit. We can see that this campaign where I'm using the AI driven targeting, I was able to get a purchase price of $27. Not bad. It's still profitable. But where I was targeting specific countries, the richer countries, you can see this is where I wasn't profitable. So I generated 11 sales using Advantage Plus targeting, and the purchase price was $89, almost $90 each. But if we go into that more granularly, we can see that certain ads perform better. So the one that I just showed you, this video, was actually the top performer at around $55 customer acquisition cost. Now, for a lot of people, they don't need the direct sale to be profitable, because really what they're doing is they're just getting people into their database with a low ticket priced product. And then what they're going to do is they're going to upsell them later, or they're going to cross sell them, or they're going to have order bumps, like when they make the purchase, then they have to upgrade or add on an ebook, something like that. So depending on your strategy, you don't necessarily need to be profitable. But with this experiment, I can see that I'm very profitable going with a global campaign and going directly for the sale rather than relying on something like selling them a more expensive product later on. So a lot of people with Facebook ads, that's all they're doing. They're just selling these sort of somewhat cheap, not super cheap e-commerce products. They want the impulse purchase, and all they do is run sales campaigns. But as you start to scale, that's not the most economical way to acquire customers. So what you're going to want to do is start to go with awareness campaigns. But with awareness campaigns, you have to be very strict with where Facebook is going to put your ads, because often they're going to show up in places that nobody sees, nobody notices. So often what I do is I restrict the placements to just Facebook feed, Instagram feed, maybe the Reels. I don't want to go with partner networks. I don't want to go with tiny little placements in the marketplace. I want to go with the places where people are really going to notice it, because I'm being much more conservative with my placements when I run awareness campaigns. Also, the creative is going to be a little bit different in that case. It's not necessarily about selling the product. It's more about making people remember your brand, so that when a problem occurs in the future, maybe a few months in the future, you're the first brand they think of when they're looking to buy a solution. So for example, pest control. Well, if you don't have a pet problem now, they're not going to buy now. But if you associate your brand with pest control, then maybe in a year from now, they will decide to call your number or go to your website, etc. So if you decide to expand to an awareness campaign, I would run that simultaneously with your sales campaign, because they're going to work well together. The awareness is going to reach a lot more people because the CPMs are going to be cheaper. And it's also going to have a bigger impact on people that buy in the future, which is most people. Most people don't buy now. Whereas the sales campaign is going to be much more good at activating people that are in the shopping mindset. Now, for some of you, you're not going to run sales campaigns ever. You're only going to run leads campaigns. And generally, what I would do to start here is start with the Facebook form. Instead of sending people to your website to fill out a request a quote, request a demo, request a sales call, etc., what you can do is just allow people to use a Facebook form and then fill it out. And then what you can do is you can follow up with them by email, by telephone, by Zoom call, etc., or just send them a series of emails nurturing them so that ultimately they buy in the future.